Okay, this is a quick introduction to the RedFlow R510 US. Here we're looking at the basic components. Of course, we've got the steel enclosure, which is IP45 rated. You've got a separate battery room at the bottom, so the ventilation can be distinguished between the top section and the bottom section. And you've got AC and DC sides, AC sides of the system. Prominent at the top is our Sunny Island 5,000 5 kilowatt inverter, and then of course below the RedFlow zinc bromine battery, and along the side here is our remote control system, the RTU. Alright, now if we look at the AC side, we've got a line diagram over here showing the relationship between the components and an image showing what you'll see behind the front panel. So going through, we've got the grid connection points here is a terminal strip, and this is actually where the wires come into the terminal strip. And we've got circuit breakers protecting the grid, the load, the pumps and fans on the battery, and connection to the inverter. Down below here we've got the battery controller. That's what actually manages the zinc bromine battery. And on the US version, these are actually internal, so you're not going to see those. Now we're looking at the DC side diagram, and we start with the inverter. So there's the grid AC side of the inverter, and the DC side here with a current shunt to measure the current. There's a small lead-acid battery that doesn't actually get involved in the energy storage. It's there like a battery backup system. Then we've got the zinc bromine battery down here, and the switch controlling connection to that. And finally, this is the RTU, and all things green here are what the RTU is controlling. It can interface to a modem for communications. It communicates with the inverter to control that. It also communicates or controls the switch here to turn the battery, zinc bromine battery, into the inverter, and this switch here to connect the lead acid batteries into the inverter. Now we're looking at the communications aspects. The RTU, as I said before, is a controller for the system. It has communications into the Sunny Island and to the battery controller, which both then have connections to the zinc bromine battery and to the grid. And here we're showing the Ethernet connection going onto a local area network, and also connected onto that LAN the RedFlow host server and the LiveView client. Now they can be on separate PCs, or they can actually be on the same PC operating. Now we're looking at the load side of the system as opposed to the grid side. Now you can have both loads that are sources and sinks. So a sink you'd be familiar with in domestic environment, TVs, radios, heaters. Also electric vehicles can be a sink of power. On the source side we might have solar panels. Here we've got a fuel cell, could have a turbine, and in this situation those sources are delivered in AC form, and the role of the R510 is to regulate the dynamics between the varying loads and the sources of supply and the connection to the grid. So that's your introduction.